Let us be in the spirit of prayer together. Gracious God, may the words of my mouth, the meditations of our hearts and our minds, even our spirits, may all of these be acceptable in your sight. O God, our rock and our redeemer. Amen. Well, Jimmy and Joseph, they have an amazing story. Jimmy and Joseph, a story much like our very own. But before I tell you their story, I have to acknowledge a hard truth. And that hard truth is this: sometimes life disappoints us. Sometimes, even despite our best efforts, we disappoint ourselves. Certainly others may disappoint us. And when that happens, such dreams that we have, our hopes, our visions for our lives, for others, for the whole world, in fact, they go unfulfilled. And that's hard. It's hard in that disappointment, in that heartache, to keep faith. It's hard to keep patient. It's hard to keep within us a compassionate spirit, not only for ourselves, but especially for those that we feel are responsible for these unmet needs. No one knows that feeling more than Joseph. Joseph, the son of Jacob. You see, he had dreams of greatness. And he shared those dreams with his 11 older brothers. We were out finding sheaves in a grain in the field, he told them. And then your sheaves gathered around my sheep and bowed down to it. The implication in that dream that angered his brothers. Are you then, they asked of him, to reign over us? Now, even before this, they really, to be truthful, didn't care for Joseph. They were jealous of Jacob's favoritism toward him, the lavish gifts that he bestowed upon them, like that beautiful coat, which is so famous. But now, because of his dreams, his brothers hated him even more. So much so that they conspired to kill him. So in a lonely place, they left him in a deep pit to die. Until they realized that they could both get rid of Joseph and make a profit. So they pulled him out of the hole and they sold him to passing traders that were traveling to Egypt. Despite all of this, Scripture says that God was with Joseph and Joseph was with God. Joseph worked honorably in that Egyptian household, and with God's help, it became prosperous. But as it always seemed to go for Joseph, things changed once again. And again, they changed for the worse. Joseph was falsely accused of a crime. The justice system failed him, and he was thrown into jail, although an innocent man. Yet still, Scripture says that God was with Joseph. And Joseph remained faithful to God. God gave Joseph favor in the sight of the chief jailer. And so that chief jailer put all the other prisoners into Joseph's care. And one of them, troubled by a dream, asked Joseph to interpret it for him. In a time of that man's desperation, Joseph gave him hope, saying that he would soon find favor with Pharaoh and be called out of that dungeon. But when you do, and you go to Pharaoh, remember me. Put in a good word for me. Proclaim my innocence to Pharaoh. And as it happened, that man did get out of prison, but once he gained his freedom and found favor with Pharaoh, he forgot all about Joseph. So Joseph languished in the prison 2 more years. Joseph dreamed of great things. He had treated people well. He had worked honorably in pursuit of his dreams. Even God was with him. And yet, he was hated. He was enslaved, betrayed, imprisoned, forgotten. His dreams went unfulfilled. So I asked this morning, how is it with your dreams? Your dreams for your life, for your children, your loved ones. What is the status of all those Christmas hopes? Just a mere month ago, your New Year resolutions, remember those? Visions that you had for a better, healthier life, not only for you, but for all. Well, I hope that your dreams, your hopes, your resolutions have fared better than they did for Joseph. I hope they are on the way to coming true even at this moment. But as I said before, sometimes life disappoints us, and we disappoint one another, even ourselves. If that is the case for you, if your dreams still remain unfulfilled, what can we learn from Joseph's story for our plight? Or even Jimmy. Remember I mentioned Jimmy at the start of the sermon? I speak, of course, of Jimmy Garoppolo. You know Jimmy? He, like Joseph, had dreams. Jimmy Garoppolo's dream was to be a Super Bowl winning quarterback. If you don't know Jimmy, he's the quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers, who used to play with the New England Patriots. So in a way, of course, they're still in the Super Bowl, I say. But what you might not know about Jimmy Garoppolo is that there are 130 colleges in Division I football. 130. Jimmy got a scholarship from none of them. Not a one. Not even to play second string or third string on the team. Instead, he was relegated to play in college football's lesser division, AA. One that plays in obscurity, does not have bowl games at the end of the season, nor does it have TV contracts. One of such teams in that league is the powerhouse of the University of the Incarnate Word. None of their players have yet made it to the NFL. And of the 1,600 NFL players in the league each year, only 20 come from that second division. Only 20. It did not look good for Jimmy Garoppolo. In his first 2 years, his record was 4 wins and 18 losses. Again, not promising. Yet after 2 years, things changed. Not only for Jimmy, but after 2 years, they changed for Joseph in that dungeon as well. Jimmy got a new coach, one that believed in him, one that saw his potential, one that encouraged his Super Bowl dream. And for Joseph, after 2 years, finally, that ex-prisoner remembered Joseph. Pharaoh, you see, was troubled by a mysterious dream, and remembering how Joseph had helped him with his dream, that ex-prisoner brought Joseph to Pharaoh. Joseph interpreted Pharaoh's dream and relieved his mind. Not only that, but Joseph created a plan to save Egypt from the coming 7 years of famine, of which the Pharaoh's dream foretold. believing in Joseph, trusting in him, Pharaoh elevated Joseph, saying, "Where can we find anyone like this one who within whom lives the very Spirit of God?" Pharaoh said, "Today, Joseph, I set you over my house. I set you over all of my people. Only regarding the throne itself will I, Pharaoh, be greater than you." And with that, Joseph's dream of greatness came true. As for Jimmy, who knows if his dream will come true? We have to wait a couple hours to find out if he indeed becomes a Super Bowl winning quarterback. Nevertheless, here's the thing. Here are, in fact, 3 things that we can learn from Jimmy and Joseph. Number 1, Jimmy and Joseph knew that a failure didn't mean that they were a failure. Or if someone else's failure didn't mean that that other was a failure. Jimmy and Joseph also didn't allow a failure this time dampen their enthusiasm for the next time, the next opportunity that presented to them to trust, to have faith in someone else, to treat someone well, or to do the right thing. Number 2, no matter how bad things look, even at this point, if our dreams, as theirs did, seem a mistake, seem a cruel irony, or highly unlikely, God is still with us. With us. Even though we may have failed. Even though others may have failed us, or hurt us, betrayed us, don't believe in us, done us an injustice, or has forgotten us, God is still with us. And if we stay with God, as Joseph did, and we have the faith enough to keep dreaming, to keep working, to keep standing up, to open those closed doors toward a better vision for us and for others, amazing things, great things can still happen. For with God, the story is never over. It wasn't over for Joseph in that pit or in that dungeon, and it wasn't over for Jimmy in that 2-year losing streak. Neither is it over for us and our dreams. Number 3, to write a new and greater story for our lives or for this world, we need each other. We need someone to believe in us, to champion for us, to encourage us, to share our dream, which is why today is so important. Not because it's Super Bowl Sunday, but because it's Communion Sunday. Communion proclaims, it reminds us of these 3 lessons. For in communion, we are offered the same 3 things. Forgiveness for our failure. We are offered God's presence and reminded that God is still with us, and we are given each other a community of faith that we might encourage one another and find support. If we are ever to do great things as Jimmy and Joseph have done, we will need all of these things. And we will need to offer all of those things. So as you go out in the world today and every day, live these lessons within your life. Share and offer these gifts with all that you meet. Offer them forgiveness. Show them God's very presence in you, in everything that you do, and give them encouragement and support for their great dreams. For it is in sharing these things that greatness comes. And it is by sharing these things that all of our dreams come true. May they come true today. Amen.